Are we live?
We are.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the Mavs Film Room podcast, coming to you live on Wednesday, January 7th at just before 10 p.m. Central Time. It's been a big day in the association. The Atlanta Hawks traded their longtime franchise player Trae Young to the Washington Wizards for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. It was a deal that kind of started to take shape a couple days ago, so it wasn't totally unexpected, but I think we can say that this is the official start of trade season in the NBA. And of course, that has pretty big implications for the Mavericks, as the Hawks have long been mentioned as a potential suitor for Anthony Davis. Will this push the Hawks to trade for Anthony Davis before the February 5th trade deadline? We're about to find out, but they certainly put themselves in position to do that, before February 5th, or if not, then sometime in the offseason. So before I ramble on too long in this introduction, guys, it was, a big trade that just occurred right now. Lots to talk about with related to Anthony Davis and the Mavericks. How are we feeling? And I forgot to mention too, the Mavericks are coming off a 100-98 victory over the poverty Sacramento Kings last night that finished at like 1 a.m. Central Time. Not a great game for the Tank, but they did get their first road victory since December 1st. So without further ado, let's get into it. What are you guys' thoughts after that win as it relates to AD and obviously now with this Trae Young trade?
Are you going to pass the ball to someone specific, or are you going to be like the Mavs point guards?
I think I'm going to be like the Mavs point guards. Just throw a grenade.
I have not been watching Mavs games of late. I'm gonna be honest.
Holy shit.
It's too much.
What a way
pain.
to start. What a way to start. What a way to start.
Cooper has been on a tear the games that I have watched, but I don't know. It's a weird feeling for me personally not to really want this team to win games for lottery reasons, and then to still watch them and kind of be tricked into, wanting Cooper and the guys. And I'm not an AD hater, so if I'm watching the games, I do get caught up in the competitiveness of it. But I think it's been a good stretch, but the Mavericks do need to move off of Anthony Davis. And I'm excited that we finally get to have a full episode where we can talk about it, because I've been thinking about it since May of last year.
Vinay,
Pazzo wants to speak. I'll let him go first.
which by the way, happy birthday, Vinay. It's
No
Vinay's
one care-
birthday.
No one cares.
No, they do care. I was told by multiple sources that they care.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
me feel better. Thanks. Woohoo.
Give those sources originating at Mavs Film Room. Yeah, but I mean, I did watch that game regretfully, that entire game last night, and it was a mess. I really truly thought we were going to lose for a good portion of that game, just because, I mean, especially when Cooper went out with that knee-to-knee collision with Precious Achua, it looked pretty bad. Then we saw him get up, limp off on his own power. We saw him on the stationary bike. Then we saw him check back in, and I was like, "Holy shit!" How nice it must be to be 19 years old, right? But it was he was the only bright spot of that game to me, just for the Mavs, like the only reason worth watching. And I mean, it's probably going to be true of his entire rookie year for the most part. You know, this was a bad game, like overall. The rotations were poor, not as in on defense, but I mean, again, there was some suspect defense, but I mean, as in Jason Kidd's minutes he gave to players and whatnot. Like, it felt like the beginning of the season, we got a lot of point Cooper, and it was just pretty uninspiring, especially because early on Cooper didn't get the ball in his hands, and it just, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm meandering as I talk about this, and it doesn't sound interesting. Believe me, it wasn't interesting to watch. So, um, it is a better team than we saw at the very beginning of the season, but that's, you can only say so much about that. That's a very low bar to clear. So I don't know. I really want some changes to be made too. So it's not there's not really much upwards trajectory if things stay the same.
Yeah, it was it was just a pretty boring watch. I mean, it was a very competitive game in that the score was close, but it was just two bad basketball teams trying to see who could play the worst basketball. And in the end, thanks to a Brandon Williams three-pointer, which has been very rare this season, the Mavericks came out on top. But like you mentioned, that Cooper Flag collision with Precious Achua was scary, but thankfully it was just a case of him banging knees with him, and he was able to come back pretty quickly into the game. And honestly, Cooper Flag finished with a very strong stat line: 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Anthony Davis finished with 19 points and 16 rebounds. We'll talk about his performance because I think the counting stats don't really do justice to how he played in that game. Vinay, let's finish with you last, but certainly not least. What were your thoughts about that Sacramento Kings victory, or Mavericks victory over the Kings last night? AD, et cetera, et cetera.
We haven't done a podcast in a while, but on the last one that we did, we decided that end of December stretch was going to decide whatever the direction the Mavericks were going to go. And the Mavericks lost a lot of those games, and I feel like the direction was set in stone at that point. And so I've been kind of rooting for losses at this point. I don't know if that makes me a supervillain or whatever. I don't really give a fuck. I understand that the Mavericks have a draft asset.
They're
this
much
year.
worse. They're much worse supervillains in this world than rooting for the Mavericks to get a top 5 pick. I can tell you that.
Well, sometimes you feel like you feel like Bane if you root for the Mavericks to lose, and you'll get called whatever. But I mean, look, I think the draft pick they have this year is the second most valuable asset the Mavericks have outside of Cooper Flag. Obviously, I've just been wanting for them to maximize their lottery odds. This draft is special, and I think they can get a good player if they're anywhere in the top 20. Like I actually truly believe that. But there's also still a tier system that happens in all these drafts, and I want to get one of the good guys. I want to get one of the special guys. So I thought they were going to lose last night. So it was like a kind of a blue ball situation. Like, I don't know. Like I thought the Kings were going to give us a win there, but Westbrook I thought was going to play better. But regardless, I mean, Anthony Davis playing that badly was kind of the story of that night. Cooper played well after this kind of, I guess, mini rookie wall that everyone wants to clamor to say. But
There's no rookie wall.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
I mean, people love to bring up the rookie wall as soon as they can. They did the same thing with Derek Lively a couple of years ago.
It was just a talking point to say something in the midst of the season when there's really nothing else to talk about but Cooper Flag and the Anthony Davis trade stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, you made a good point. You know, we at the end of our last podcast, we went over the remaining 7 games in the 2025 calendar year for the Mavericks. I believe we said they would go 4-3. They went 3-4, I think, with the 3 victories being against the Pistons, the Nuggets, and actually they went 2-5. The Pistons and Nuggets were the only teams that they beat, and they lost to the 76ers, Pelicans, Warriors, Kings, and Trailblazers. So, look, that stretch, I think, clearly defined the direction in which the Mavericks are going this season. And now, like you said, Vinay, it's all about the draft pick. It's all about maximizing their draft positioning and also developing Cooper Flag. Can you continue to allow him to shine? Can you allow him to win Rookie of the Year? Like, I think that's really what they're playing for at this point. And obviously, guys like Max Christie, Ryan Nembhard, you hope they can continue to take steps in their development too.
Max Christie has been crazy, and I'm sure somebody who is actually watching the games can tell you about that in actual detail. Vinay, I do want to
Jesus
say,
Christ, man.
Dallas Forever in chat says, happy birthday. Hell of a day to celebrate.
Why is it a hell? What happened to the Trae Young getting traded to the Wizards?
I think that's
Is that a special
Man,
day?
I think that and
A
then,
lot happened today.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
I mean, we'll get to it. We'll get to it later.
We'll get
I
to
actually have
that,
an Anthony. I have an Anthony Davis monologue that I want to deliver later.
oh, I'm excited.
I guess we'll see how that goes. But I mean, in general, like it's nice to see Cooper to finish up my whatever. It's nice to see Cooper bounce back from the rookie wall. Like I said, it's been frustrating seeing how Klay Thompson has played lately. I don't think that's been talked enough about. It's been frustrating in general seeing how Anthony Davis has played ever since he's put on a Mavericks jersey because, I mean, last night was, especially on offense, I I couldn't even believe what I was watching at times. I almost feel bad for him, but I guess I'll get to that later. But I don't know, man. This stretch coming up with like games against the Kings, the Nets, and all that, like, uh, want them to lose out. If I'm being honest, sorry. That's why I'm saying like last night versus the Kings, man. I thought uh, that's like when you're a contending team and you have a huge regular season win. I thought that was going to be like a huge regular season loss for Tankathon odds.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
hoping that too.
It would have been a big loss because the Kings, record wise, the Kings are much worse than the Mavericks. I mean, they're still 8-23, 8-24. The Mavericks are now 14 and actually, they're not 8-23. They're something of that. They basically have 8 wins. The Mavericks now have 14 wins.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to be worse than the Kings.
Yeah, because our
But-
management still thinks, at least based on reporting, that they have something that they could possibly compete for. Meanwhile, Con Knipple is neck and neck with Cooper Flag in a lot of the Rookie of the Year conversations, and that's not a paper tiger. He's having an incredible rookie year, unprecedented from most people. So, all in all, things are not going so well in Mavs land. There's very little to be optimistic about with this team winning games like they did last night.
But why is there such a, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's like an ethical like reluctance to want to root for your favorite basketball team to lose. But to me, it's like so effing important that they maximize this year's pick, especially when they don't have these picks until 2031. You know what's going to happen in 2031? One of us four is going to have a kid by then. So much is going to change.
Hey,
In that time span.
Poly market. We need to start a
Polymarket
bet
it.
on which
Who's
one.
7
who's
years
gonna be the
old.
first of us to have a kid?
Which one
I'm
for the
not saying
Mavs
who,
Film
I'm
Room
not saying who.
podcast is gonna be the
I'm not
first
saying
one to have
who.
kids?
Someone, I mean, hopefully, for fuck's sake, like, no, I'm kidding. But okay, look, this draft is a perfect combination of special talent at the top, great depth across, which is why, like, in some ways, like, even if like the worst happened and they made the play and lost in the play and they could still get a good pick, but man, I want one of those top guys. I just feel like it's a rare year to do so, and you have a running mate next to Cooper. I could, like, I know it sucks not to have the picks coming up, but whatever you get from the Anthony Davis trade, which we'll talk about later, and you have cap space and all that stuff, like, you have a promising future because a lot of teams spend decades to find a Cooper Flag. So we have that part down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for a lot of people to root for losses, but I think my stance that I describe is like it's hard for me to root for them to lose, but I don't mind at all if they lose. And so what I was gonna say is that's why this whole Anthony Davis trade thing is so important because it enables the Mavericks to move forward into the Cooper Flag era in multiple ways. One of them being, if you lose organically, like it's okay. Like that this team is going to be bad. Right now they are expensive and they're bad, and that's the position that you do not want to be in this apron era. And that's the
Precisely.
position the Mavericks are in. They're very close to the second apron, and they're bad. They're a 14-win team. And so that's why moving off of AD, even if it's, you're not going to get a good return for him. Let's just be real. If you get one unprotected first for him, that's great. But what it does is it moves his enormous salary off of your books for hopefully expiring salary to the point where you have more flexibility to take on players and trade in the offseason, potentially sign players in the offseason, and really build the right team around Cooper Flag. Right now they have no shooting and they have no playmaking, and those are two major areas that they're going to have to address going into next season. You can't do that if Anthony Davis is still on your salary cap sheet.
Yeah, the case for trading AD is pretty self-explanatory. To answer what you kind of started that off talking about, how it's difficult to root for the team to lose, I get it. It's a big reason why when I watch games, I'm still going to watch them at least semi-competitively and want my favorite team to win. But let's be honest, they're a 14-win team and they've been trying to compete. Like this whole like this team can be competitive if gimmick should have been over 2 months ago, because this team has not even been on a 500 win pace. Right? Like they're not going to win 40 games. So like at the end of the day, you are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. The question is, how bad are you going to be? Smart management, they don't have a GM right now, but smart management would be, you have one of the 5 or 6 biggest payrolls in the NBA right now. You were up next to the second apron. You got to move off of that. I trust that somebody has told Dumont that that's what needs to happen. And I hope that all of these reports from him are posturing. But from the fan base, just enough with the gimmicks. Okay, Cooper Flag is great. This team cannot win against even the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have been
Can we talk about last
who have
night?
been really, really not playing well recently. Like the top 3 to 5 in the West, you can see this team beating the Nuggets a couple times. This team is not going to make it anywhere in the playoffs, even if Kyrie is magically healthy and in shape.
They're not a balanced enough roster, plain and simple. They don't have the shooting to compete in today's NBA, and they don't have the playmaking to compete in the playoffs. Like
Or the perimeter defense.
Yeah, or the perimeter defense. Like they are a very imbalanced, incomplete roster, and that's why this trade deadline is so important. Like we talk a lot about Anthony Davis, but there's other guys who potentially could be moved: Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson. Like the conversations don't just stop at Anthony Davis, but I do think that's where we need to focus on, because obviously, with the Hawks being the number 1 suitor for AD, or at least mentioned in the media, it was long thought that Trae Young was the biggest obstacle to getting that deal done, because the Hawks didn't want to trade for Anthony Davis's $54 million salary when they had Trae Young's $45 million contract on their books. Now they traded him for CJ McCollum's $30 million expiring contract and Corey Kispert, which I don't know how much he's making, but I think they traded
It's
for
about
Corey
13,
Kispert.
14 million.
Yeah, makes sense. I think they traded for Corey Kispert to keep him because he's a solid role player.
Yeah.
But now they have, not only do they have CJ McCollum's $30 million expiring contract, but they also have Kristaps Porzingis's expiring contract, which I believe is in that $30 million neighborhood too. So combine KP with Luke Kennard and hopefully some draft capital. Like that's a package that the Hawks could offer the Mavericks, and it would be up to the Mavericks to decide whether that's enough for them, whether moving on from AD is worth potentially taking a lesser return. But my thing is, like, you already embarrass yourself enough with the Luka trade. Like there's you can't get any more embarrassed than you already are right now. Like it's a matter of pride and ego at this point. Can you put that ego to the side and just say we want to move on from Anthony Davis and build this team? Or are we still going to hold on to this dream that AD and Kyrie and Cooper Flag can compete?
That point you
next
made
year.
just now about ownership doesn't want to get more embarrassed. I think they're thinking that they're scared that they're going to trade Anthony Davis too soon. He's going to go somewhere else. He's going to ball out, and it's going to make them look even more embarrassed.
If that's the fear, then you truly need to be in a different sport, because these things are so high variance. This team is built around Anthony Davis. He cannot break the 20-point barrier last night. Like
this team's built around Anthony Davis. It's a horrible job building around Anthony Davis.
There's not
a fucking point guard on the team.
Yeah, there's not a point guard on the team.
This team isn't built around Anthony Davis.
It was conceptualized with him playing the 4. He's not playing the 4. All of our bigs are hurt. There are no point guards. We've gone on about this since May. In reality, we've known since the Mavericks won the lottery in 2025.
I'm not saying that's my
what
argument.
the next step was.
Ownership is
right?
thinking.
Here's what I'll say.
It cannot be about pride and ego, and you cannot be looking at AD trades and being like, "Oh, but this is technically our return for Luka." It's not. You need to go ahead and move on from the $50 million. He's talking about he wants an extension to stay in Dallas. That sounds like a fucking threat to me, dog. What the hell? What are you talking about? $50 million?
It is a threat.
$50 to $60 million for a guy who can't play 50 games for your fucking team in a year? Like, listen, Anthony Davis is one of my favorite basketball players that I've watched in my adolescence and into my adulthood. There was a point in the league where he was a 40-point, 15 rebound, maybe 5 assists, throwing a couple blocks in there as your main guy in a franchise. It's been 10 fucking years. Like, move on. If your pride is involved and you can't trade this guy, and just like your pride was involved and you couldn't fire fucking Nico Harrison for 9 months, like, you need a different job. Like, at some point, You have to say, is
Who are
Patrick
you yelling
Dumont
at?
Patrick Dumont, bro? Why are we talking about this as if it's
Oh wait, let me just take my headphones off. He's over there.
No, I just
No,
I can't entertain this stuff as if it's a conversation anymore.
I
The
feel like
case
I'm
for
being
Trae
yelled
here's
at
what
Young
like
I'll
I'm
say.
Patrick Dumont.
Here's what I'll
has
say,
made
and-
itself. Okay, if you're
and-
not with it,
I feel like I'm getting yelled at.
I'm not trying to listen to you. You know what I mean?
I know Fazal wants to say something. I just got to say something quickly. Look, that line of thinking might make some sense if the Mavericks didn't win the lottery and didn't draft Cooper Flag. Then you could make that argument to a degree that, oh, we want to wait and get fair value for AD because that's our most valuable asset. That's no longer the case anymore. You have Cooper Flag. That reset the entire timeline. It was a get out of jail free card, as we talked about. Now, nothing else matters. Obviously, yeah, you don't want to just give away AD for a second round pick. Like that you can't do that. But if you can get expirings and maybe a first, maybe Zachary Risachet, that's fine. That's a good enough starting point. You get some more assets, and now you have the flexibility. The flexibility is an asset to me, and most people aren't thinking of it that way. It's absolutely an asset. That flexibility to build around Cooper Flag.
I need some Oscar-winning award acting in the front office right now, where the Mavericks are like, "No, we need Risachet and the Pelicans pick. Like, you got to give us both." And then at the end, they can be like, okay, I guess we'll just take the Pelicans pick." I need that level Oscar acting right now. But I mean, all jokes aside, I'll settle with like the Cavs pick. Any pick in this draft, I'll settle with. If you get it along, I don't even know if the Hawks are going to trade Risachet, but if you give me expirings and one of those picks they had, like the Cavs pick, they have a complicated pick situation other than the Pelicans pick. But
They
you give me
sound
a
they
first-round
want to
pick.
trade Risachet from
I
the
know
Bucks.
that's what it sounds like. I don't think they're. I mean, we'll see if they trade him or not. But um, I also think the Raptors are kind of a sneaky Anthony Davis team that no one's talked about enough.
Yeah, I did want to talk about them, but I think to guide this conversation a little bit more, I wanted to ask y'all, do you think the Mavericks are prioritizing expirings or young prospects? Because I think you can get one first round pick in this draft for Anthony Davis, even though his value is at a low, right? But I don't know if you can get a young player and an expiring. And I think if you're going to prioritize the pick, I wouldn't blame any manager to say, okay, we want contracts that expire this year. So where do you think this is going on the Mavs end?
I would want expirings and a pick in this specific draft would be my two biggest things.
I agree.
I don't know if you're getting like a young prospect because a team that's trying to trade for Anthony Davis isn't going to make their current team worse, like to that degree. So I don't necessarily like. Maybe you could get a Risachet. I don't know how much I believe in the reporting that he's untouchable, but outside of that, I don't see what young player some of these teams would be giving up. Could you talk yourself into RJ Barrett?
I could definitely
I
talk
could.
myself in RJ Barrett.
He's a
So
good player.
maybe
He is a good
maybe him because his contract's too much, but he's also played a lot better this year. I don't think he's the bad player that he's kind of made out to be.
I think that the Mavericks are prioritizing expiring contracts. That to me makes the most sense. That seems to be, I think, where their focus lies. I mean, I know there's been some reporting about how they want a young player. I'm sure they won't turn their nose up at that, but I think that, like I said, the expiring contracts and the financial flexibility is really what they want, because we're seeing right now how hard it is to trade a player making as much money as Anthony Davis when AD is arguably not living up to that contract. And so if the Mavericks can just move that deal and run, like, I think that has so much value that people aren't accounting for right now. Like, if they're able to do it this deadline, I think that'll be a major accomplishment. And like I said, I'm not saying trade him for a second round pick, but I'm saying
I've
get the
honestly,
expiring-
sorry,
go ahead.
I've honestly changed my tune. You guys have known that I've thought that Anthony Davis was going to stay here till the summer. Kind of think for some reason today, I've also had like someone text me that the Raptors are more interested in Anthony Davis than it's made out to be, for whatever it's worth.
I don't think that.
Was it Rich Paul that
I don't
texted you?
think that. I don't think that AD's representation and AD's camp themselves want to be in Toronto as much as they want to be in Atlanta. And I think
I don't
that's
know.
coloring what's happening a
I
little
don't
bit.
know. Rich Paul's talked about how Toronto's an underrated city. They're also fourth in the East right now, which I don't think enough people know about. So like,
And I mean,
Yeah, but
when that
also
report comes out,
Rich Paul
they're
got
big.
Brandon Ingram to Toronto
Brandon
last
Ingram's
year.
there,
They
and
have Scotty Barnes, I'm pretty sure, on clutch as well. So
I'm not sure
so
about
let me
that.
ask. So
but
I mean, so
Jalen
that's why I'm
Johnson is
bringing it.
also a clutch signee. So I think
So
that
RJ Barrett doesn't fit the expirings model, but is that someone that you would want from them, or would you want to go the expirings route?
I would prefer going the expirings route just because I value the pick that Atlanta is going to give me more than I value what picks the Raptors might give me. Now, if they have a pick that I just have not heard about, that would change that. But I care
Is
about
the
the draft
Cavs pick
capital.
that is the Cavs pick that much more
It's not,
appetizing than the
but
Raptors pick?
let's say what we just have seen floated around, like Luke Kennard and Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not a fan of that, right? I understand why you would accept it along with draft capital, let's say, but if that's all you're getting for Anthony Davis, I'm not for it because KP is a downgrade. Um, and yes, it's an expiring, but I think Risache is available. I think the reporting is posturing from the Hawks, but I think if they're saying, oh, we don't want to give you a high pick and we don't want to give you a prospect, but we do want to get off of KP's money, then I can see KP being involved, and I would take Austin Newell. Like I think that there is upside, um, but I need a pick. Like if I'm trading AD, the package needs to be centered around Kristaps Porzingis, the expiring, and a first round pick in this draft, preferably. If it's not that, then it's a non-starter, and I'm holding till the offseason because this team is going to lose games no matter what. And you could theoretically make a trade after the numbers are finalized and everyone knows where they're going in the draft. I don't want it to last that long, and I don't think it'll last that long anymore. I agree with you, Vinay. But that's where I would be if I was negotiating, right?
I mean, today was a great day for the Hawks. I mean, they did the Trae Young trade, and then Zachary Risache had 25 points and 8 rebounds. So now, obviously, if you're looking at that, you can say yesterday's price was not today's price when it comes to Zachary Risache. Would you guys be comfortable if he was kind of the main asset in an AD deal, or would you rather take a first round pick? And let me say this. I don't think that there's any scenario in which the Hawks trade the Pelicans pick. That's absolutely a non-starter. And so I think to me, the choice is either Risache or
Dude,
the
I'm doing
Cavaliers pick, like you were
irresponsible
talking
things
about.
for that pick. I'm throwing in the Lakers first. I'm throwing if they have any bad contracts you can absorb. I'm taking that on. If they want Najee Marshall, I'm giving him that.
Facts.
Uh, Nothing is impossible. I don't think they will do it, but I'm just saying like you can get just creative and aggressive at the same time, almost in a way. I don't think the Hawks would do it, and they shouldn't do it. But there's a lot I would do to get that pick.
I don't think that it's a non-starter in talks. Let's put it that way. They're probably not going to do it. I would say they're not going to do it, but
Yeah, I
there's
don't
no
think they're
point
gonna
in
do
not
it either.
asking, because if you say no, then they're like, okay,
You
but
got to
you're getting
hold
rid of
out.
us.
You might not get it, but you got to hold out your very best because the difference between that pick and Zachary Risache is massive to me. And I like Zachary Risache as a solid role player. It's just we're
Yeah,
talking like levels.
no, huge difference. I
I
mean,
can talk myself into Zachary Sachet, but I want the pick. Like,
I feel like them having that pick should give them a little bit more comfort in trading Zachary Risache because, like, at this point, who cares? You have another chance at getting one of those top players in a much better draft.
But you need that demon
Like
tonight next to Anthony Davis if you're trying to win a championship.
they do.
the
His
demon
So
name is
just
being
give us.
Zachary.
his
So
name is
just give us the
Jalen Johnson. They
So
have
just give
another
us the
demon. His name
draft
is
pick.
Dyson Daniels.
So just give
Okay,
us the draft pick.
like they
Draft picks
actually
bust
have
all the
way too
time.
many players that are already good at those positions to where they don't need Zachary Risache. They don't.
I mean,
need
yeah, now they
Austin
got Corey Kispert.
They just don't need all of these players. I know that you can get one of those two. And I like Risache, but I would rather have Newell. I'm going to be honest. Especially if you can get Newell as well as a pick. I'm so with it. I'm so
Yeah,
with
but
it.
I don't think the Hawks would do it.
I don't
But
see why
like
the
you said,
Hawks wouldn't do it.
like you said earlier, I do think there's posturing on both sides. I don't think the Mavericks are like, oh, we have to see Anthony Davis, Kyrie, and Cooper Flag play together as much as it's being made out to be. And I also don't think the Hawks are making Zachary Ricochet just completely untouchable. I could be wrong, but I just feel like they would do that at some point.
I
But
There's
I'm
a
do,
little
gonna
but
bit
I
of a
once
don't
again,
think
negotiation
I want
Zachary
to, I
through the
want to
media
once
that's
again,
going on right
I want to
now.
once again mention that I need some people out there to make some fake Raptors trades. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna do it.
I'm not gonna
But
do it.
someone else out. It can't just be the Hawks. I know everyone's just talking about the Hawks, but I feel strongly about whatever text I got today that the Raptors are actually a very serious contender for Anthony Davis.
I believe that because they were mentioned as the two teams that are definitely interested in leading the market. But today we heard Shams say specifically that
Yes,
the Hawks are pivoting towards an in-season trade to acquire a win-now talent, and he said Anthony Davis.
Yeah, he
Right?
specifically named AD as
I
that
know you
player.
got to drive, but you got to. I mean, hopefully you can get competitors. Not just one team.
True, true.
Yeah, I'm not selling low on AD in a market where you can get an expiring, a project player, and a pick. And if you can't get all three of those, I want as good of a pick as possible. I don't think that that is insane to ask. Okay, you might not get
Would
the
you rather have
Pelicans,
RJ? Would you rather have RJ Barrett or Zachary Ricochet?
RJ Barrett. Well, how much money do they make? That's actually the question. Because
RJ Barrett makes a lot of money, which is part of the problem.
Yeah,
I would
RJ
I would
isn't on a
rather
rookie
have
contract.
Zachary Ricochet.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think the
Especially because
Raptors
of
would be looking.
flexibility. Like
Yeah,
it
the
just
Raptors
allows
would
you
be
to do
looking
more.
to trade Jakob Poeltl in such a deal, which would mean the Mavericks would demand significant draft compensation if they were to take back Jakob Poeltl. The Raptors have all their picks these next few years. They have their pick this year, next year. Obviously, you can't trade picks in consecutive years, but you could do the Raptors 2026 pick, the
Can we even
2028
do?
pick,
Can we
and
even do
Jakob
pick
Poeltl.
swaps?
Um, I think we can in 2032, but that's
That's
It's a
probably the
long time
earliest.
away.
insane to think
yeah.
about, dude. Yeah, Ricochet over RJ. I think a big reason is the rookie contract and the flexibility. But if you can get multiple firsts for taking on Pirtle, I mean, it depends on Pirtle's contract. I think he has 2 years left.
It's horrible.
Does he have more than 2 years
Yeah,
left?
it's
He's
yeah,
30
he's
years
got
He
old right
just got
now.
4 years
extended.
left.
After
Oh,
He
this
just
year,
got
he has
extended.
4 years left.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't want Pirtle. And Barrett is a good player, but at that money, I would rather have Ricochet. My thing is, I wouldn't want. If you can get Ricochet and the Cavs pick, I'm fine with it because the Cavs are underperforming. They're like very close to a middle of the road team in the East, which nobody expected. Like people aren't playing. Ty Jerome being traded last year apparently had a huge impact on their offense. And I don't see that getting, fixed very quickly. I'm surprised that the Cavs are not a buyer on a guy like AD, but I guess they're not. But I
Do
would
we-
want the Cavs pick. I would. I don't think that's a bad consolation prize if you're holding out for the
It's
Pels
not.
pick. But
It's
I'm
not.
not. I don't think Zachary Ricochet. I'm not one of the Mavs fans who has talked myself into him being significantly better than what we've seen him be. Like for every 25-point night we've seen, he has a
He's
night where-
20.
Yes, he is. Okay, but I frankly like Asanul. Maybe it's just my bias, but I think that he's also a project player.
I think both of those guys are going to be different players than what they necessarily are now. They were in high school maybe 2 years
I
ago.
agree, but I would want Newell on this team with Cooper Flag more than I want Zachary Ricochet.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, I don't. The point you made was Zachary Ricochet is basically a done product. I would vehemently disagree with that because he's 20.
I didn't say that. What I'm saying is that he is developing and
He's-
he is inconsistent. Like we don't know what he can actually project as in his prime. We just don't, and that's reality.
No,
We
I
don't
know,
know
but
that
you're
about
saying that he
Asanul
couldn't get
either.
better.
But the thing is, if the Hawks are using Zach as leverage and saying, okay, well, we don't want to give you the same draft compensation because we're giving you a young prospect that we value and that plays decently, then I think getting Asanul and a pick is literally it's great. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I would be
you have a
thrilled with the.
rookie on the first year of his rookie scale contract. He's a project player, but he can only go up from here. He doesn't get playing time, and you get a pick in this draft. And expirings, I don't think you can go wrong with that. I'm gonna be real.
Let's go to the title of this stream. Do we think that Anthony Davis wants to be traded? Because
I don't give a fuck.
I think he does. I think whatever reporting.
I think
that
he
came
wants
out
to get paid, but who
Yeah, he
amongst
wants
us
to get-
wouldn't want to get paid? And guess what?
I
This
know.
fan base is fucking pissed on him ever since he's been traded here. So why the hell would he want to be here?
Well, from his reports, right, he wants to stay here and look for.
If they give
extension.
him the extension.
No, he wants to stay here if they pay him. Otherwise, he wants to go where he gets paid. I mean, I just want to be free of this headache, man. Like I've been hard on Anthony Davis, but like the reality is I don't want paying him would be disastrous. Like they can't. He's 30.
No, you
gonna be
obviously
33
cannot
years
extend
old.
him. I mean, I already think his current contract's a bad contract. You
That's horrible.
100% can extend him. I don't know what. I mean, I kept saying this. I don't know what team is going to trade for him and actually extend him. I want to like see that part to believe it because I don't know why the hell you would want to do it. Like, why would you want to do that? I could maybe talk myself into like trading for the rest of his contract, but I mean, you know how the Rich Paul stuff goes. Like, he's going to pressure the hell out of the next team that he gets traded to for that extension, to where that extension's almost like a done deal before he even gets traded there. Is I don't know.
I think
Maybe that's just a.
that's another reason why the Raptors and Hawks are still there, because both of those guys have young stars who are clutch clients, and that is leverage to say, hey, this guy's going to be a free agent at some point. If you don't extend AD, you're not going to have a good relationship with us. You might test free agency. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that that's significantly more leverage on
Well, yeah,
representation.
no team is going to trade for AD without extending him because Clutch Sports and Rich Paul will not allow that to happen. They're not going to let. I mean, that team very well could, but in this day and age, the agents control so much of it, and they're not going to trade for AD and piss off Clutch Sports by not extending him. So, I think that it's good that the Mavericks have Rich Paul, quote unquote, on their side because Rich Paul is going to play a big part in this negotiation
next general
as much as
manager-
anyone else.
The next general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, Rich Paul.
Shit,
Fuck.
I wouldn't mind that, man. Just do it. He'd be way
After
better
he-
than the last guy.
His first move would be extending Anthony Davis,
And then signing LeBron
yeah.
James.
Trade AD and then make Rich Paul. The
and then
GM.
trading the 30th pick because we're gonna go to the championship.
Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, I don't know who's gonna extend AD, but I hope to God it's not the Dallas Mavericks. And it doesn't sound like it will be, but like,
Well, that's
listen,
that's why it
he's
sounds like
your
Rich Paul's
problem
applying
now.
pressure.
I'm ready for that. I've been ready for that for almost a year now, for basically 9 months now, and I can't wait. I'm counting down the days. I don't even dislike Anthony Davis as a person or a player. It's not like Davis Bertans for me, or Caleb Martin.
What the hell?
Um,
Why did he catch a stray?
Hey, this is one of the guys that I did not enjoy watching in a Mavs uniform, and it never had any silver linings. With AD, he's still a decent player. He's an impact player, but I don't.
He just doesn't fit on this team.
He's also not here, bro. He's like, I can't watch this guy play 5 games and then like tweak something in his groin and then be gone for another 3 nights and then come. Like, I can't watch this anymore. I especially can't watch it when he's getting paid $50 million and what's a $60 million a year extension. And I especially can't watch it when you had Luka fucking Doncic and you traded that for this, whatever experience you're going through now. Like, for me, it's a footnote, but you got to get off the roller coaster at some point.
Well, yeah. I mean, AD has been set up to fail with the way that the whole trade went down.
Thank
and
you,
obviously-
thank you.
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
I
like
mean,
so
yeah.
much of the vitriol gets towards Anthony Davis, and he's played horribly for his standards in the Mavericks jersey. But all of this fucking stems to one
He's had
basketball
AD
terrorist.
AD, to his credit, has had some good games.
And how
this
many games has
season.
he had a good point guard in Dallas?
Yeah, and again, another positive AD thing is honestly since the calf strain, he has played in most of the games since then. I mean, yeah, he got hurt on Christmas, but he missed like what 1 game, 2 games, and came back. So he's been relatively available since the calf strain, and he has
I'm not
had
gonna
some
go
good
that.
games.
I'm not going to go that far.
No, he relatively since the calf strain, he has been available.
It's
He's
like
missed
four. It's a
maybe
4 game
4
sample
games.
size.
No, the calf strain where he missed a month
When did he come back from the calf strain? Wasn't it like right after
against the
Christmas?
Lakers. No, on November 28th.
But he just. Oh, I thought. Okay, I
After
thought you were
that,
talking about.
after that game, he's missed. You know, whenever he
missed, like,
got
2
injured on
games.
Christmas, yeah, whenever he got injured on Christmas, I think he only missed 1 game, and then he came back the game after that. So he has been relatively available since he came back from that early season calf strain, and he has had some good games, like against the Nuggets twice, against the Rockets twice. There's probably a couple others I'm forgetting. It's just that he doesn't fit on this team. They don't have a real point guard. Their best point guard is also a slightly injury prone older player who is not going to come back until probably after the trade deadline. Um, and then also for the Mavericks, like you can't realistically build your team around 2 older, aging, injury prone players and then a
Non-shooting
19-year-old
bigs,
Cooper Flag.
Non-shooting bigs, guys. What
just
league
doesn't
are we
work.
in? We're in the pace and space league. You can't. If AD could hit out of 7 attempts a game, if he could hit like 35% of his threes, I would be like, shit, maybe you do extend him because he's a threat. He changes how everyone plays on the floor. He's not a modern big, and you can't play him at the 4 on this team. He just isn't a part of the vision for the future. He shouldn't be if you know ball. And the whole issue with this franchise is the GM and the governor know nothing about ball. The GM knew more than the governor about ball, and now the GM's gone, but the governor is still there. So, like, listen, I almost like Jakob Pertl more, and I don't, but like because
No, stop! Don't go
because
too far.
I'm not
Do not
saying
go
it
too
like
far.
that. I'm not saying it like that. In terms of he can stretch the floor a little bit, right? Like, yeah, he can. Maybe I'm thinking about his Spurs time a little more than I'm thinking about now, but he does have at least the defense playing differently than Anthony Davis. AD, you cannot run him next to Cooper Flag for the next 3 to 4 years when Cooper's shot is a question mark. I'm sure he'll get it figured out.
Jakob Pertl hasn't shot. Jakob Pertl doesn't shoot threes. Who are you thinking of?
I have no idea then. Regardless, okay, I don't like Jakob Pertl. I don't know why.
I had to
said
double
that.
check. I thought you were describing Wemby for a second.
Okay, I
You said
definitely
change
was-
the.
I
You
definitely
said
wasn't-
change the defense and stretch the floor.
I definitely wasn't thinking about Victor Wembanyama. It just brain fart.
You were talking about Jakob Pertl, right?
Okay, no. All I'm saying is that if you had a stretch big, I think that's a guy that is worth
I agree.
paying $40
that's why I'm on your
million
side.
dollars a year, right? Forget
That's
the
why I'm
Jakob
on your
Pertl of it all.
side.
Look, we know
That's
the
why I'm on your
Mavericks
side
love
about
Kyrie.
Newell. That's
Like,
why I'm on your side about Asa Newell over Zachary Risashit because he kind of fits that stretch 5 role. I think shooting around Cooper Flag is more important than shooting was around Luka.
Yes.
I don't think you can get away with the rim running center. Like, I don't think Gafford's a good fit with Cooper Flag, for example. Like, I want that space. The floor needs to be 5 out, Cooper Flag driving. It's hard to find that big, but I mean, think about Milwaukee when as soon as they added Brook Lopez close to a decade ago, how much it changed that team. I feel like getting the right type of stretch 5 next to Cooper, maybe a couple years down the road, will make a drastic impact on the team. And it'd be nice if it was Asa Newell, but I don't know. I don't know who's available and not available for the Hawks.
I think spacing has been one of those reasons that Cooper's shooting, and in general the Mavs offense, has been significantly worse than you would think, given on paper what the sum of their parts should be. And I think Anthony Davis being the focal point of the team and the roster is the reason primarily why that's happening. So moving away from him, I think you have to build around a stretch 5. And the Austin Newell point is a great one. But in general, I just don't think that there's a reality in which Anthony Davis can, like, he's not going to get paid here, right? He doesn't fit what's going on here. So I think he does want to be traded for that reason. I am curious why that report came out when it did, because I feel like that was kind of hit against the Mavs, and it decreased their leverage in negotiations, because if you're a team, you're immediately talking about a $270 million extension for Anthony Davis. You know, you're gonna want to give up way less. So we'll see obviously where it goes, but I do believe that the Hawks are seriously going after him. The question is there going to be another team?
Puzzle, can I hear your voice?
Yes. God, I don't know. Like, I think I would prefer. I logically speaking, I would prefer cap space and expirings over a younger prospect who makes significant money, like an RJ Barrett or whoever. But my only question is, do we trust these Mavericks front office figures to like make acquisitions and free agency with cap space? Like historically, that's never worked out too well for the Mavs. Last offseason, in 2024, we got Klay Thompson, thanks to he who shall not be named. But I mean, even when it works out, it doesn't work out because of dumb moves and bad luck with injuries and whatnot. So on that note, like, getting a proven player, a prospect seems, or a young asset seems like, it makes more sense. I'm a little partial to Atlanta's offers for like Shea or one of their picks. Ideally the Pelicans pick, even though there's a 0.001% chance of that, whatever. But still, like, I think going back to what you guys have said all along, the Mavs need to project as much strength as they possibly can in these negotiations because, if we got to start high and then whittle it down to whatever the actual deal is, obviously that's business. I mean, we'll talk about Shea and the Pelicans pick, end up with Newell and the Cavs pick and some expirings like that. That seems, especially for AD right now, that seems maybe as good as you can get. The longer we wait to trade him, the higher the risk he gets a significant injury and his value just depreciates further. And punting this deal to the summer, like, who knows, man? The NBA landscape changes every single day, so it's tough to say. I think like we have a, I don't know if it's a golden opportunity because you can never predict the future, but we have a undeniably a very good opportunity to trade him right now, get something real good for him, or at least something that looks good, and just be done with it. And I think like I don't want to wait until February. I think the sooner something gets done that looks good, the more I'm okay with it. Kind of like how when we punted on Kristaps, except perhaps a little better than that. But still, you never know how these things can go. Like we fucking the 2022 season looked like a mess. We made the Western Conference Finals. We lost Jalen Brunson for nothing. We, you know,
Jesus
we're
Christ, man.
we're in the wilderness for a season, and then we made the finals the very next season. So we're gonna look stupid trading AD probably, but as long as we have like the pieces to be set up for the future with Cooper, like I think it'll be okay, or as much as it can be okay.
We're not
But
gonna look. We're not gonna look
yeah, go
dumb when
ahead.
Asa Newell turns into Carl Anthony Towns with Bam Adebayo's defense.
I'm telling you,
That's
his
right.
shot, he could be a volume shooter. Okay, like I know it's like
No,
it's a stretch,
that's
but
who I want. But if
you
it
know,
feels like the Hawks might make him untouchable, I don't know.
I don't see the Hawks making him untouchable just because he doesn't get enough.
But I think I could see them seeing Newell, Asa Newell as more valuable than Zachary Risashay. I don't know.
Okay,
It's hard
yeah,
to tell
I can
what
see
they
that as
think.
well. But if they're saying, okay, Risachet just scored 25, we want to keep him as part of our young core, then you try to dislodge Newell. If you have to
For
choose
sure.
between that and a pick, though, I think you go for the pick, just
I'm
because
surprised
you
Asa
can get
Newell
two
hasn't been brought
impact
up.
level players.
Asa Newell hasn't been brought up in any of those reports from Sam Amick or any of the guys that have reported on Anthony Davis stuff, which is kind of surprising to me.
Well, either
I
the
guess he's not
Mavericks
as
front
big of a
office
name as
don't know
Risa
ball.
Shea. But
I don't know. Like, maybe
He's
the
a
Mav.
first round pick though this year.
He wasn't just a first round pick. I think a lot of people know him. Like, he was a very touted prospect his entire high school career. I don't know if he was like top of
By the
the
way,
nation or something.
did
But
did Trae Young get traded during the game like Harrison Barnes?
yeah, he did.
yeah,
Yeah.
But the difference was he kind of asked for this trade.
they also sat out.
But
Like,
they also said that Harrison Barnes knew about the trade before the game, but we still get memed for it.
Well, that was slightly different because I don't think he asked for a trade in that case.
yeah.
Trae Young and his agent was working with the Hawks on a trade, so
Also,
that
HB
was a big
played,
difference.
whereas Trae Young didn't play tonight, and neither did CJ McConnell. I don't believe he played.
Also, I don't think the Hawks GM, the current or past, ever had a picture with Trae Young handcuffed to him like Donnie Nelson with Harrison Barnes.
I forgot
That's
about
true.
that, dude.
That's true.
Oh shit. Okay, so what would you guys like if you can only get AD for Kristaps Porzingis and a pick or one of Newell and Risa? What would you prefer?
What's my
The
what am I
the
choosing
pick or a
between?
young prospect from them?
Both.
Okay.
I want one of Zachary Ricochet or Newell, and then I want the Cavs pick. Otherwise, bug off, and we'll talk in February.
Or you mean May?
No, in February.
Oh,
You
at
guys are saying
the
you
trade
got.
deadline.
You guys are saying you want this trade done ASAP. I'm saying like, if you don't get exactly what you want from the Hawks, I'm cool with waiting till the deadline.
Yeah.
But I think they should. I feel like the Mavericks will have a good enough offer to where Anthony Davis is gone by February. My stance has changed on that
I
as
think
of
you
today.
could get that from Atlanta. The real question is, are they
Well,
playing
well,
hard and
well.
well? The other thing is, there's no market, right? Like we're talking
For
about the
who?
Warriors now, and I'm gonna be
Dude,
honest. I don't want to
I'm
hear
telling
anything
you,
about what the Warriors
the way,
package would be. I don't give a shit. I
but
don't want
the way
unless they're giving me
Shams,
5 first-round picks. I don't give a flying fuck. I do not want anything that the Warriors have to give me as a franchise.
why? You
'Cause
wouldn't take
what are
picks
they gonna
after
give me?
you wouldn't take picks when Steph Curry's promoting for Nike in
Yeah, but I
China
don't think that they're
after he's
going.
retired.
I don't think that they're going to give the Mavs like 20, 30, whatever picks when Steph Curry is like 41 years old and no longer in the league.
You
Um,
can't say never.
if they do, hey, I'll take it. I'll take that and Kuminga, whatever. Uh, but I honestly like if your package has Brandon Pajemski in it, fuck off.
No, obviously no.
I don't want that
I want
bullshit.
picks. I want picks after Steph's retired.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're. I think that front office is smart enough to not mortgage their post
Maybe
Steph
not, but I
future.
also see the argument for why you can't waste Steph's prime years or any Steph years. And I mean, if they're just going to go status quo into the rest of the season, then I just feel like it's
Yeah, they're
disgraceful
not
to a
moving off
basketball
of Jimmy
legend.
Butler either. So if you're keeping Jimmy Butler, if you're keeping Draymond, if you're keeping Steph, you're trying to win now. I guess AD fits that picture, and I don't really care about the team building of the Warriors. So if they're gonna do that, if they're gonna give you multiple future firsts, one unprotected, maybe others like others with swaps or protected or whatever, depending how late it is, I would at least entertain that conversation. I think that also bolsters the market. My issue right now is we just talked about the Raptors. Kind of don't want the Raptors to offer anything because they don't have anything that I really want. The Hawks have something that I would like. The Warriors, if they're giving up those picks, would have something that I like. But what other teams are looking for him? The Bulls are out of the picture.
There's absolutely nothing you'd want from the Raptors.
No, I mean there's stuff that I would want. It's just we talked
And
about
I also don't
Jakob
think I
Pertl
don't
being like a
I
guy
could
that
be
you have to
wrong. Hold
take
on.
on as an
I
albatross.
could be wrong that I don't think I feel like you could do a trade with RJ Barrett to where Jakob Pertl doesn't have to be included.
How much does RJ make? 30? 35? There's no way he makes $40 million a year.
27.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes 27 and then he makes like
What
29
contract?
next season.
Okay, there's a worse contract on their team, and it's Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, I don't think they want to give up quickly though. I think their team is kind of built.
They should be begging to give up Quickly.
Yeah, that's a crazy
They
contract that they
just
signed
gave
him
him that
to.
contract too.
Yeah, I don't want either of Jakob Pertl or Quickly's contracts.
I mean, I
I'm
would
trying
take
to make
RJ
it.
Barrett. It's just what draft capital do they even have? Do they have other teams' picks? Because I don't want their pick. They're top 5 in the Eastern Conference right now. I don't want their pick.
Yeah, it's hard to make a fucking Anthony Davis trade.
I'm really surprised that the Cavs are not in more trade discussions right now with how much they've been underperforming. Honestly,
But
that's
AD
the
is
domino
not
I've
really
been
a
waiting
fit
for.
for the Cavs. They have Mobley, they have Allen.
Well, I'm not even saying AD, but I mean, there are other teams that would want guys that the Cavs have. I'm surprised that I haven't heard more about the Cavs wanting to make moves and being buyers.
Which team is saying no to Cat for if Carl Anthony Towns for AD?
The Knicks.
The Mavericks.
Definitely the
Why would
Knicks.
the really
Yeah, I mean, I don't
the
know
Knicks think they can contend with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns as your two of your guys on defense?
I mean, they didn't they just win the? I know it doesn't matter, but they won the NBA Cup. They were in the
I
conference
can't believe you
finals
said
last
that
year.
out loud. Like seriously,
What do you mean? What do you
they
mean?
won the NBA Cup. Okay, cool. I had chocolate for lunch today. Like, are we
Okay,
just saying
wait, no,
random
no,
shit that
they
doesn't
they they
matter?
beat they beat who? They beat the Spurs, right? They
Okay.
beat the Spurs, and who? What you said? The Spurs might go to the finals this year after that first game that
They
we played
won.
against
They
them.
won one regular season basketball game against the Spurs. Is basically what that is.
Okay, yes, but it is also
Are
top
you putting
tier
this much weight into the
competition.
NBA Cup, or am I
I'm
being
not. I'm
trolled?
not. I'm saying that they're beating good teams. They have been in the conference
That
finals. They
that's all
have been
cool. I could.
competitive. I don't see them being like, "Oh, we are in a second tier right now. We need to trade for AD." I don't understand that thinking. Yes, I believe that that Karl Anthony Towns isn't the perfect fit for a team centered around Jalen Brunson. Okay, but I don't see them other than salary, which I guess is what 55 is what Cat makes a year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see a need for them to move on this year. Like I don't see a reason why they wouldn't try to win now, right?
You
Or
just
why
made
they
the
think
point.
AD would buy or AD would buy them more time contending or make them a
I
more
don't think
serious
they'll do
contender.
it. I don't think they'll do it. But you just made the point. This is the year to kind of compete like that. The difference between Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis, if he's healthy defensively, is drastic. Drastic. You're taking away one of your red flags defensively for a positive on defense. I don't
That's
know.
true, and we
And
have
Karl Anthony
talked
Towns is also on a bad contract. I honestly would think the Mavericks would be the team to say no to that.
maybe, but I also think Cat would actually help the spacing here. If his
I
contract wasn't
agree.
horrible, I would be like, oh, I actually really want him here.
Jay,
If
what do you think about that trade? Who would say no
What
to that
trade?
trade?
Trading AD for Cat?
The Knicks say no.
I think the Knicks say no.
There's CAA ties in New York too.
Yeah, I mean, Cat has been pretty good for the Knicks since they traded for him, and I just feel like,
No, there's more rough games than y'all. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, but I just think that Karl Anthony Towns has a more valuable skill set than Anthony Davis, especially when you consider their ages too.
If
Okay,
they were both, if they were both like guaranteed to play for the playoffs, who would you rather have?
I
okay,
would
well,
still rather have
I mean
Cat.
that's just a fantasy, right?
Really?
Vinay, we have literally
Yeah,
you and I have talked on this exact channel about how we don't believe that Anthony Davis can stay healthy for a whole playoff
That's
series.
not what I asked though. I said if you guaranteed them health, who would you rather have for a playoff
Yeah, but
series?
okay, if you guarantee them, that's a crazy hypothetical for one of
That's
the
the
most.
hypothetical I just fucking
Yeah,
said.
I know, but what I'm saying is that there's no bearing in reality. Like, I don't know why we're even asking if he's healthy.
All right,
You
we're
know,
off the rails. This dude's being fucking Mr. Literal. Let's move on.
I mean, I don't know if I have that much more to talk about. I think we kind
Yeah,
of
let's
hit the
call it.
I think we hit the majority of the AD discussion. I mean, it's obviously not going to be the last time we talk about it because I mean, there's still a month left until the trade deadline. But I think today was the first step that needed to be taken for the AD trade cycle to really kick into full gear. Up until now, the Trae Young thing was sort of blocking it. Now that's out of the way, and we can, you know, we can move on, and we'll see if a deal happens.
yeah, I didn't want to come across as if I was yelling at anyone. But I'm very passionate about trading Anthony Davis, which is what has come out tonight. Um, I still am not convinced that there is a thriving market, but I do believe that the Hawks want him bad enough to where we won't have to wait until the offseason to get a decent return for him. But I I still think that you would get more if he waited until the offseason, if he ends the season healthy. Um, Not that I want him to be here, but it's a tough tightrope to be on. But the one thing we know is that he needs to be traded. There is no
I'm not
vision.
making the risk of taking it on to where he could get hurt before the season ends. I'm getting done with it before February, and I think there's going to be not a robust market, but a trade that you can be satisfied with.
I don't know, man. Like the trade market and player evaluations have been so screwed up ever since the second apron was introduced. Like, tell me honestly, you three, did you really think that Trae Young, his value would be so low that he would only get traded for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert? Like, I don't know, a week ago, let alone a year ago. I know Anthony Davis is a significantly better player with like at least significantly more trade value and reputation around the league, around like other front offices, but still like it tonight's trade put me in for a little bit of a loop because like I don't know how we can accurately like gauge what AD's value is going to be. Like really, I think you just need to depend on getting one front office, one GM who's enough of a sucker to be like, yeah, I can see the vision with this guy right now, and we can give up such and such for the future to make a run this season, which, apparently, like, according to the reports, all these Eastern Conference teams believe they're 180 away, which I don't know if I believe that, but
I think that might have come from Rich Paul.
yeah, shoot, it's tough though, like really, and it makes me feel a little nervous.
Yeah, your point on player evaluations, I'll briefly touch on. I definitely thought that the Hawks were going to be a competitive team this year, but I thought Trae would be a part of that. But very quickly as the season started and he wasn't there, it was clear that the team could win without him. So I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't have been surprised a week ago. Someone had told me that there were no picks involved and it was just expirings. Because frankly, like think about the trade market in general. Like LaMelo Ball has been talked about, John Morant has been talked about, Trae Young has been talked about. All of these guys have significant drawbacks and reasons why teams would not want to, throw out the entire farm for them, and something that limits their market. So if there is a market for 80, the Mavericks need to capitalize because there aren't markets for a lot of players with question marks right now.
All right, guys. I admittedly have been multitasking right now. I think we got to call it.
We don't
You know,
stream
we-
for like a fucking month, and you got to multitask for half of it.
You want to do the
That's-
outro, buddy?
That's life. Well, I was about to. All right, look. Thanks, guys, for for joining. I know it's been a long time, and we're gonna be back. We're gonna be back very soon. We're not gonna have another 3-week long layoff. Look, we're entering, I think, kind of an interesting part of the NBA calendar. I think for a lot of people, this is their favorite part, with trade season kicking into full gear. Hopefully, the Mavericks can be an active part in this trade season, so they can get the assets to start their rebuild around Cooper Flag. Because as we said earlier, this process is going to go into the offseason. It's not going to be fixed at the trade deadline, but they got to start their offseason work now, because obviously they're not making the postseason. So it behooves them to get started with that here leading up to February 5th. Thanks everyone who tuned in. Appreciate everyone who supports us, and always fun talking Mavs with everyone. We saw all things Mavs in the chat, so shout out to him as well. Appreciate your support. We'll be back with another episode probably this weekend, next week. So subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't, Mavs Film Room. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't as well. Guys, you have any closing thoughts before we end the stream?
I think I've said everything that I need to say, didn't I?
Nothing.
For the record, I would love Cat for AD.
I mean, I would too.
I just don't see
I
it.
would too.
Pausal?
Didn't say it was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't have much to say either. Let's just get this trade over with at this point.
Yeah, it's been exhausting. I'm ready for that to be over. I'm ready to move forward. But guys, thanks again. Sorry for the multitasking here towards the end. Happy birthday, Vinay. And we'll see y'all soon. Go Mavs.